A packed house in Hamilton as Ravalli County commissioners slammed over a letter on a controversial issue.
Would you take illegal drugs before going to work? We take a look at microdosing on special assignment.
And exciting news for the KPAX-TV family. We welcome a new member, Baby Berkeley.
Powered by the Montana Television Network. This is the 10 o'clock news on KPAX, Montana's news leader.
Good evening, I'm Jill Valley.
And I'm Dennis Bragg.
Two men appear in federal court today on charges stemming from a drug raid on a Missoula home this week.
And it happens in a neighborhood where people are stunned but not surprised by the police activity. Augusta McDonald brings us the story.
In the Canyon Creek neighborhood west of Missoula, months of suspicious activity did not go unnoticed.
People have told me in this area it's a nice neighborhood. It's where people buy houses to raise their families. And that's why since August, the Missoula County Sheriff's Office has responded to almost 30 complaints of drug traffic and suspicious people at this house.
Early Tuesday morning, neighbors told me they heard loud bangs coming from the house and saw law enforcement vehicles blocking the area as a federal SWAT team raided the residence and another structure on the property. The FBI Regional Violent Crime Task Force is a collaboration of local and federal agencies who investigate violent crimes like drug trafficking, where firearms are involved. According to court documents, they have been investigating complaints about 40-year-old Alan Harwood for months now, who is listed as owning this Calistoga Lane property. He was charged in federal court Wednesday along 20-year-old Desmond Petrone, both for conspiracy to distribute 500 grams or more of methamphetamine and possession of a firearm in furtherance of a drug trafficking crime. Although no one in the neighborhood was willing to be interviewed on camera, I was told that they are still afraid for their safety as there continues to be multiple people using the house and the detached garage on the property, described in court documents as a flop house where people use methamphetamine.
Augusta McDonald, MTN News, Missoula.
A federal jury in Billings convicts a Missoula man of trafficking women and girls for sex and other crimes following an interstate investigation. The panel found 35-year-old Terrence Edwards guilty on all 10 counts against him. The jury deliberated for about 4 hours over 2 days before reaching the verdicts this morning. The trial lasted 8 days. Now, this man faces a minimum mandatory 15 years to life in prison and a $250,000 fine on the sex trafficking crimes. He'll be sentenced June 21st. The father of 3 missing boys in Michigan says the bones found in Missoula this fall are not the remains of his children. This in an interview from prison. It's still, though, going to take DNA testing to determine that. A cleaning crew found a box containing skeletal remains in a shed on the 2100 block of South 12th Street West that included a partial human jawbone and other bone fragments. Now, this discovery got the attention of police in Michigan who were looking for these 3 brothers who vanished in 2010. Their father is in prison in connection to the case, but he recently told a Detroit TV station the bones are not those of his 3 boys. They were last seen in 2010 after John Skelton failed to return them to his estranged wife after a visit. He claims he gave his boys away to protect them from their mother. Turning now to weather, get ready for some more cold and snow. For the latest, let's check in now with Chief Meteorologist Erin Yost and her first forecast. Erin.
Yeah, we're going to see some action here Thursday and Friday as an Arctic front moves a little bit further to the south and the west and makes for some snowfall and some dangerous travel conditions for many of us, especially along the Continental Divide. Hard to believe that that's right around the corner. Temperatures mild enough right now in valley locations for rain. One place that saw quite the warm temperatures, Hamilton. This was First Security Bank ICAM earlier this afternoon, high around 52 degrees. Now you can see the radar is pretty lit up right now. Eventually this will all switch over to snow, and we do have winter weather highlights that have been issued. Here's a look at the advisories in place, many beginning tomorrow afternoon. I've got a forecast update coming up.
A proposal by Senator Steve Daines to remove some Montana federal lands from the list of wilderness study areas gets its first hearing in the Senate.
But some people here in western Montana say the proposal shouldn't even see the light of day, telling Ravalli County commissioners to turn away from supporting the idea. It's a dispute that's not getting any easier to resolve. What should happen to 5 of Montana's wilderness study areas? The tracts that were set aside in 1977 but later left out of a bill to create new wilderness in a pocket veto by President Reagan. Senator Steve Daines suggests it's time to take them out of WSA status. But that idea was widely panned today by a crowd of more than 250 people who showed up to ask Ravalli County commissioners to recall a controversial letter supporting the Daines bill. Speakers blasted the board and the senator for not getting more public input before taking the position and reviewing the decades of debate over the wilderness designation.
I think if you review all of those, you'll see that there is indeed support for wilderness in Ravalli County, there is support for releasing portions of these. So it's not all or nothing.
They would like to be heard. This meeting and this hearing should have been held by Senator Daines before it ever got to this point.
It's not pitting one Montana against another. Let's do this process right. Let's stop shopping for excuses and start listening to all.
You obviously take your marching orders from Senator Daines. I mean, you're a grown man. Come on.
Some of the snowmobilers and mountain bike riders who've been shut out of the Blue Joint and Sapphire for the past couple of years say they would like to see the Daines bill approved so it could resolve the future status of the wilderness study areas.
It just simply takes the WSA repeal or status off of the lands. That's all it does. Then it opens up the door for a collaborative process.
Congress has failed to act on those areas for the last 30 years. This has created a horrible mess.
Now, commissioners are letting the letter stand, but they will continue to take public input as they monitor the progress of the Daines bill in Congress. Many of us think drinking a cup of coffee or an energy drink to get it motivated in the morning, but some people are taking it a step further. They're microdosing, hitting a small dose of an illegal psychedelic drug to increase productivity at school or in the workplace.
MTN's Kent Lutzen goes on special assignment about how this drug fad of young professionals is growing in popularity, even though they could end up with a hefty fine or even thrown in jail for it.
Yeah, I'll probably not hold on to this for too long because I'm not really trying to trip today.
In order to protect his identity, we'll call him Scott. He's a college student at the University of Montana and is just a few semesters away from receiving his bachelor's degree. He also works part-time. However, to balance his busy schedule, he occasionally takes drugs. In fact, small amounts of LSD to help get him through the day.
Take Shakespeare's classic quote that the whole world is a stage. LSD is like a backstage pass. It's like you're part of the audience all of a sudden. You're not a character in the play.
Scott gets the drug from a dealer, and the dealer gets it from a producer who makes LSD in bulk quantities. A typical trip would be around 100 micrograms of LSD, but microdosing is a tenth of that, cutting the regular dose into smaller pieces. And Scott says it helps him with mental health, self-improvement, and increases creativity.
Yeah, if you'd be into doing a pretty small microdose day trip.
Now, many associate LSD with the 60s, when flower children were attending Woodstock while rocking out to Jimi Hendrix and defining the hippie generation. But these images are not what the new age microdosing looks like. It's high-level students, creative architects, innovative tech CEOs. It could even be the coworker who just got a promotion. But is this self-medicating psychedelic treatment really a healthy option?
There's been some recent research on LSD again, so the FDA has started to reapprove studies. Some of those studies are showing promising results. So some of the more recent studies have focused on depression and anxiety in cancer patients, people with terminal diseases, where the long-term risks we're not as worried about. And there have been some really good results. So I think that there's potential for therapeutic benefit.
In microdosing, I still very much feel like I'm of this world.
Dr. Munjal says these studies were done in a controlled setting. He also added there are very serious side effects of using psychedelia, especially if someone is already struggling with mental health issues.
People's ability to determine reality from unreality to unravel a little bit. They distort perceptions, and they can even create perceptions that don't exist. And so very much a hallucinogen can mimic a psychotic state.
LSD users can also experience flashbacks or reoccurrences of certain aspects of the drug experience. According to the Centers for Disease Control and Prevention, LSD does produce tolerance, so many users who take the drug repeatedly must continue to take higher doses to achieve the same high. But for Scott and other users, these side effects do not outweigh the benefits they get from microdosing.
Right, so I'm somebody who's dealt with anxiety and depression for a number of years now, and something that tends to be really frustrating with anxiety is that you get locked into these sorts of very rigid ways of viewing the world. The psychedelic experience really gives me the tools, I think, to observe the way that I'm thinking about things and the way that I'm engaging with things without that dimension of frustration.
Scott is just one of many young professionals who are microdosing here in Missoula. They're taking small portions of hallucinogens before class or even work. And city prosecutors say the use of psychedelics are on the rise.
We are seeing an increase over the last few months of both mushrooms and LSD. I have seen more referrals, and I'm aware of more law enforcement intelligence regarding those drugs. So it does seem to be on the rise here. We're taking it seriously.
McCubbin said being caught with these drugs can result in felony charges for each incident of possession. The maximum sentence for a basic drug charge is 5 years and or a $5,000 fine. And some users say the benefits from microdosing are worth that risk.
How do you justify doing a psychedelic when you know that it's very well illegal?
I mean, lumping psychedelia into the same category as all of your narcotics, all of your amphetamines seems, it's like likening snowboarding to golf because they're both sports. The positive benefits largely outweigh any sort of negative stigma or culture that's developed around psychedelics, and I feel like the culture is going to shift when we realize that there is a lot of good stuff that can come out of moderated, responsible use.
On special assignment, Kent Lutzen, MTN News, Missoula.
And Dr. Munjal says there's still a lot of research that needs to be done on the use of LSD in the medical realm.
Coming up, our next system is moving in, bringing Arctic air and cold with it. Erin has what you need to know in her wintry forecast.
Plus, we're proud to welcome the newest addition to our KPAX family. We meet Baby Berkeley coming up after the break.